Dr. G. Really? Who's she?
Yeah, that's me. Greetings and welcome to Office Hours with Dr. G. I'm your host, Dr. G, and I'm so glad that you can keep our appointment. Well, this is probably one of those guests that you have been waiting for. You've been longing for somebody to come on my show and give you the how-to, some solutions to the problems that many of you present. Tonight's guest, Yacouba J. Rome L., is a strong advocate for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. He is a Moorish science researcher, a multi-platform law adept, an entrepreneur, and father. Tonight, he is going to present what happened to us politically and civilly, and he's going to provide the simple corrective solutions. Like I said, I know you've been looking and waiting for someone to tell you how to do it, and tonight we're going to get some of those answers. So I would like you to help me welcome for the first time here on Office Hours with Dr. G, Brother Yacouba J. Rome L. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Music still going.
We gotta rock.
Gotta rock with it.
Gotta rock. I'm rocking.
Well, gotta rock a little bit. I'm excited about tonight because some answers.
Right. Answers are always good.
I think I let that music run a little bit in the beginning before I started to talk because I know we didn't write a whole lot about you because we want to get right to it.
That's right.
But see how much is still on? Thank you all. And while we're waiting to start, I want you to push that like and share. Tonight, we're going to get some answers, y'all. Come on, share, please. And you won't have to call me so much and ask me. Maybe after tonight, you will flood Brother Yacouba J. Rome L's mailbox with all of your questions, or not, a lot of your questions. Again, welcome to Office Hours with Dr. G. You are, this is your first time guest, but you are very much familiar with the platform. You and I speak often on a myriad of topics, and I am so pleased tonight to have you come on the show and show and share with the kinfolk some solutions. A lot of folks are wondering, one, what should they be doing with regard to nationalization? There's a lot of things, that are taking place on the planet that folks are now scrambling more so than they were when I first found out about nationality and birthright, in 2011. So there are so many people scrambling to find out what to do when they hear nationalize, proclaim, and the how-to of so many, of a lot of these procedures. Grand Sheik lays a wonderful foundation, and I'm sure you'll talk about it because you, like Consul General Lamont L. and others, have, actually not necessarily sat at his feet literally, but kind of, sort of, and have used, a lot of his foundational teachings to catapult you into your deep and your further study. And you are a researcher. I know that because you share with me at least weekly and have been doing so for months on a myriad of topics. And so I'm happy that we are able to take this time out for you to come on and just, open up the vault, the truth vault and the how-to vault, and give us some steps that will take folks out of the realm of confusion.
It definitely some good dialogue.
All right.
Good dialogue. And actually, the answer to most questions are simpler than what people think. I used to make things way more difficult than I thought, because you think when you go through this, especially if you are indigenous, but not just limited to someone who is indigenous. This is for everyone who has been born here in Northwest Amexem, aka North America, on this continent, and has gone through the birth certificate process. So the confusion that confronts us all began at the hospital, or if you were not brought into the world from your mother in a hospital, when you actually went to register your property, aka your offspring, your heir, or your child. That is when the act of, as Grand Sheik Taj Tariq Bey would call it, the it's cheating you out of your political affiliation and your civil affiliation with your country. So, for the sake of harmony, we are not going to refer to the constitutional, the organic Constitution, speaking of the Constitution for the United States of North America. And I'll even extend that to say in Congress assembled. So we're referring to the 50 states of the Union, which started out as 13, now they're 50, even though the District of Columbia is currently involved in actions to become the 51st. A lot of people don't know that, but they are. So, for the sake of harmony, because of the malicious connotative linguistics and constructive um, language and word art that's being used to write these laws, today we're going to refer to the 50 states of the Union, the Constitutional Republic, as countries, because that's what they actually are. They're countries. You can use the word state if you want, but these so-called states have their own individual constitutions, each one.
And
Delaware,
I can, may I interject? I
go
can,
ahead.
I can back that up. I shared with you that just recently I was signing up for something, and it was the country was Malaysia, and the place where I was ordering the product from within the U.S. was Oregon. So when they signed me up, they said my country was Oregon, and I got all up in arms, and I kept saying, "How can you put down country as Oregon?" And it turned out is that they saw Oregon, they see Oregon as a country, and they were saying that was the place where your product was shipped from. From it was we would have said the state of Oregon, not the country, but outside of here, that's how we're viewed.
This is correct. Those that are abroad who are dealing with you outside of the North American continent, not on this land, see you as a separate country. Even though you have a body politic that you call the United States as a proper noun, a lot of people don't know that the 50 states of the Union are small countries. And as I was saying, each one has their own constitution. And the United States has its own constitution, which is the Constitution of the United States. In my opinion, de facto, they were uh, given life through the Act of 1871. And when that happened, the organic constitution for the United States of North America was then changed to the Constitution of the United States. Very different. They're also, at the same time, they implemented the all caps version of it. Whereas when you see any language that mentions the United States of America, you see it written in proper English. And that has a very, very strong legal point to it. But when you see the United States or US or USA or whatnot, you see it's written different. all the way down to the so-called birth certificate. When you have a birth certificate issued from a state, for example, a state of Delaware, state of New York, or state of Pennsylvania, etc., any of those, you'll see that they're written in all caps, artificial persons. But when you have one that's issued, if you want to call the United States of America, which I have a different opinion, but if you take the lesser of two evils, then the United States of America, you see that the birth certificates read very different, including with a welcome. Welcome to the United States of America. So
birth certificate.
The birth certificate. So it happened at the very beginning when you were born at the place that aided and assisted your mother in giving birth, that we call a hospital. What we didn't know is that when you went to the hospital, you actually left the land according to Roman and English law. You left the land and you went into a vessel on dry dock. And that vessel on dry dock, just like many of the courts, are under the authority of the jurisdiction of the United States, the democracy. Sounds confusing, I know. So try going into a so-called court room or courthouse. You're only going to be able to get to the front door. After that, you're going to need a pass to get in, or they won't let you in. They call it a government building, etc., which it very well may be, but you still need a pass because you're leaving the land and you're walking into a vessel on dry dock. And if you don't have a pass, then you'll be trespassing.
What do you call a pass?
What you call a pass?
Yes.
Their passes, they accept the so-called driver's license or state ID. That's what they issue. But those documents are not de jure documents. Those documents are issued from the corporation and their territories, because the state of, anything that's a state of is a derivative of the United States. So it's not part of the de jure republic. It's not part of the country. It's part of the territory of the United States. And I'm not able to share my screen, but I don't need to. I can.
Well, you can share your screen.
How would I do that?
Okay, so let me put wait a minute. Screen share.
Okay.
And now you can click. If you look at the bottom, you should be able to see share, and then you decide whether you see share at the bottom. Option to share.
Yes, I do. Okay.
Okay, so then it's going to give you option. What are you going to do? Your whole screen or specific page, and then it'll pop up here because I.
So I'll just continue to talk while I'm doing that. So in the hospital, they send you through the intake process. This is what I call it. So at the time when someone gives birth, or when a baby is born, comes out of the mother, the baby has to be claimed. And so typically what happens is immediately or shortly thereafter, the baby will receive some sort of instrument connecting the baby to the mother, whether it's a wristband or something like that. That's just so the baby doesn't get mixed in with other babies and whatnot. But soon after that, here comes the paperwork. So the paperwork that follows the baby being born is the claiming instruments. One of those instruments is going to be in the form of an affidavit that the mother or guardian will have to sign, claiming the child, claiming the heir. When that happens, what they are supposed to do, and every country has this order of process, is record the arrival of the newborn in the county recorder's office. And they have an X amount of days to do that. Typically it's 5 days to record the property. And if they don't record the property within 5 days, then the property is considered abandoned.
So the baby is property.
The baby is property. The baby is personal property of the mother. Always personal property. So what we're talking about now are property claims. Okay? So it begins with the affidavit. That's the claim. The affidavit is then, nowadays in some hospitals, they are starting the birth certificate process at the hospital. And if you don't go through it, then they won't even half the time let you leave the hospital, because they'll assume jurisdiction right then and there, because they want the baby to be registered within their system. So it's very important for mothers to know, and fathers and or guardians to know, that when you are in that predicament, you need to know that whenever you utilize such conventions as a city, state, and zip code, the trifecta, then you are putting yourself in a federal zone. Whenever you're reading any type of documentation or instruments, and let's just call them presentments, because we're dealing with commercial transactions now. So they're presenting you with an offer to contract. And anytime you get any document from anyone, it's an offer to contract, especially if it requires your autograph, which they call a signature. And anything, as a fundamental note, that requires your autograph or signature, you are actually witnessing while you are agreeing to the offer. You are accepting the offer. And the consideration is whatever the terms or medium of exchange that is that you're agreeing to. So if you are autographing anything, then it can be used against you as evidence. So you need to be aware of the language being used. And this is where we get into word art and constructive language, because there's certain terms that you need to be aware of, all of us, that do not refer to you, but refer to you as property and their property claims if you autograph these documents. Initially, even though what most people don't know is that a lot of these things are taking advantage of those who don't know that their life is unalienable as a man or a woman. Okay? But these people deal in persons. And persons is a legislative created term. Person is, and I'll show you this here in a moment. Person is, individual is, residents. We're all speaking terms that are written in legalese. And just in case many people don't know, whenever you're presented with an offer or a contract or anything that requires negotiating and your agreement to, then more than likely it is written in a legal technical language called legalese. It's not written in English. It may look like English, it may pronunciate like English, but it's not English. And in legalese, it is the fact that the average word has over 90 different interpretations.
Wow.
So now you have to ask yourself, do you really know what you're reading? Do you really know what you're signing? And we'll go through a few examples of what I'm referring to here in just a moment. So when the hospital comes with the registration information for the newborn, and you allow them, and by operation of law, in the federal jurisdiction, they have a right to presume your race, to presume your race. And a lot of times they will say that you're Black or African American. Okay? Which we all know that those are adjectives, those are not in any way depicting your actual race. Those are also created. And they initially, when they do this, they're automatically jumpstarting you into the Social Security Administration process of the registration of the child, because they want to get the baby in, get it registered with a birth certificate, claiming the baby's life, and then get a number assigned to the baby. And the number in itself, and I'll show you with these applications that follow real shortly after. I'm going to share my screen now, and we're going to jump to the first thing is going to be the Social Security Administration, so that you can look at their application for Social Security number and look at the language therein. So you'll know exactly what's going on and how they label you. So screen share, let me see here. Share screen. Okay. System share audio, application window, your entire screen. Okay. Yeah. Do I need to select system
You
share?
select whether it's just that page or the entire screen. That's what it's giving you an option. So, or the application.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. So you want to bring up just you want to change it to just the page, that particular page. Bring up the page.
Okay, so how do I go back out of this thing then?
Let me see. You can click on just the page. See if you can click on the page instead
Just
of the
the
entire
page?
screen.
That's the entire screen. Let me see. Did that make a difference?
No, it's okay. It's a whole bunch of times. Let me see.
Yeah, okay, hold on for a second. Let me see
You
if I
just want the page with the particular. That's neat.
let me do that. Okay, let's
Try
start
it.
all over.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah.
let's do
Takes a little.
share. Okay, share screen. 2 monitors, share screen. Application window,
And then pick just the page
just the page.
with the document on it.
Okay. Okay, so application window. Oh, okay, wait a minute. I see what's going on. Let me see. Opera tab.
Yeah, the tab that you want.
That's interesting. Okay. I tell you what, Dr. G, I am outside of my league here. I'm going to
Try
just have you go ahead. I
just
apologize.
see if you can click on the page that has that document on it, as opposed to,
Okay.
and try it'll pop here up, and I'll see whether it's just that page or not. It takes a little. It's a little.
All right. All right. Okay, here we go.
Hold on, y'all. We're trying to.
Yeah, I apologize, you all. This is
This is new to.
this is new to me.
Technology.
Video file slides. Okay. Okay. Share screen. Now it's funny. Now when it says your entire screen, I see the screen, I see us, and I see a little box.
But you just what? And what's the other option from entire screen?
The other options are application window and then the browser tab.
Browser tab. Try that one.
Okay.
Does that give you just the?
Okay. Okay. Here we go. I see what's going on now. All right. So I'll just select one of these. Okay. Okay. All right. Let me see here. Okay. See if we see this now.
Yep. So here we go.
Okay. So this is, let's see here. Okay. Wait a minute. That might have been the wrong one. Okay, hold on.
You're on the third page, it looks like.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me go back out of here. I got the hang of it now, Dr. G.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
I see what's going on. Let me go in here.
And I think, you're talking about these forms, a lot of times I don't think people, it's so much that people don't read everything. Anyway.
Yeah, and that is something, I'm glad you said that, Dr. G. Everyone listening, you need to know this, that this is an ongoing process. If you're not a reader, you're going to have to become one. Because if you don't have your best interests at heart, nobody else will. And you're going to have to become comfortable with filling out documents. Because if you use an attorney, they hold a bar license. They are officers of the court. So if you get an attorney, you submit to the general jurisdiction of the court off the bat. And that challenging of that jurisdiction of the court, and I know a lot of people, when they hear jurisdiction, some people, some gurus talk about jurisdiction. Don't challenge jurisdiction. Don't do this, don't do that. But let me tell you something. Your entire walk on this plane of manifest, in this life, is a matter of you challenging jurisdiction. What we're talking about right now is at the stage of being a newborn. They are putting you in their jurisdiction and you have no idea how. They are taking you outside of your country of nativity. And if you are, I'll use a Moor for an example. If you are a Moor, or I'll use another term, indigenous, copper-colored American, of olive hue, indigenous and or original, okay, quote unquote aboriginal, without the negative connotation of using the AB in front of the word. If you are also party to a treaty, then you are giving up a lot more than you know. Because the treaty, according to Article 6 of the Constitution for the United States of America, treaty and constitutions make up the supreme law of the land. Remember that. Treaty and the constitutions. Treaties can put you at par with those who have constitutional protection. Some of us have the benefit of both, treaty and constitutions. So with that being said, at the hospital, what we're talking about is them taking you out of your country. Now remember, when we refer to the 50 states of the Union, the constitutional republic, the republic, not the democracy. So we're going to utilize states when we refer to the democracy and countries when we refer to the republic. So say, for example, you were born in the Michigan territory or Michigan Republic. Well, Michigan is a country. Michigan has its own constitution. Ohio has its own constitution. Its neighboring state, Illinois, has its own constitution. These are all countries. They've conditioned us to look at these things as states. But you see, you got states with the lowercase, states with the uppercase, states with all caps. So half the time you don't know what state they're talking about when they're talking about them. And then you don't know that there's 3 United States. And we'll get to that here in a minute. But with that being said, they're taking you outside of your country of nativity to where you are born a state citizen, national already. And they're putting you into the federal zone and making you a U.S. citizen. Therefore, you bring property of the federal government or national government. You being property as an individual or a person, and they own those terms. And all you have to do is read the documents, read the contracts. They always refer to you as an individual or person. They never refer to you as a man or a woman. And then your race is always African American or Black. And if you don't declare who you are, they're going to assume who you are. And they're going to fill in that documentation anyway. And by operation of law, policy enforcers in their jurisdiction, now mind you, I'm speaking of their jurisdiction. By operation of, they can presume who you are on site. So it doesn't matter who you are to them when they see you. All they see, some of them, is that a man or woman they consider to be Black, or a man or woman they consider to be a Negro, or a man or woman they consider to be colored, or a man or woman they consider to be African American. And I could go on and on and on. Afro-American, Indian. We've been all kind of things in regards to them, names outside of who we are, indigenous Aboriginal Americans, over the last 100 years. They always refer to us as an adjective. And there's a reason for that. Because they want your vast estate here. And as long as they can get you to consent to it by agreeing to be this individual or person, then you abandon your estate. And they claim it. Just like I'm about to show you how they claim the child, and the child becomes a ward of the state. And it's all by using word art and legalese. So I am going to go through let me see here. Where is, and how do I go into my, so Dr. G, do you need to have this already in your browser first, or is there any way you can open up your browser and
you
then?
can bring up your browser first and then click share.
Okay.
So you want the tab that's open as opposed to your whole.
Okay. Application window.
Yeah, like you did before.
All right. Let me see if I can get this right this time.
Well, actually, it looks like you got no. That's the wrong window because that's you and I. I see
Oh,
it.
all right. Okay. I'm going to bring up my first. I'm just going to put it in here. That way I can
Okay.
just select it real quick. Be easier that way. Okay. So this will be, I need the SS-5 form. Okay, here we go. And what I'm going to show you all is the application for the Social Security card and the designations that they give people. We're going to start there because that is something that's consistent with almost everybody, including people who are becoming nationalized. They're still utilizing that convention, that number, and do what you will. It's your choice, but I'll show you how you are still contracting. And your way out of this is simple. You have to know how to contract. And first of all, you have to know that you're contracting. Okay. And here we go. All right, Dr. G, I got it up. Now let me come back to you. Let me see. Where did Dr. G go?
Here, I'm here.
Okay. All right. Let me just bring this window up. Let me see. And we are using, okay, browser, Opera. And where is my Dr. G tab?
Well, just see if you can click the share button. DC.
Which button is it?
Share is down the bottom. It says
Oh, no, I'm just looking for you now. I have the documents up. I'm just looking to get you back in front of me now. So
maybe it says StreamYard or something at the top.
yeah. Yep. Gotcha. Here we go. All right. We're cooking with hot grease now. Okay. So let me show you this. And I apologize, you all, for this little delay here.
It's not easy.
No, but I catch on quick. I might start off a little slow sometimes, but I catch up quick. All right. Okay. I want to show you this one first. And is it possible to select more than one?
Well, if it's try that. Start with the one you see first.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay.
Right.
So here we go. Let me. All right.
But you can go through the pages of, like, you can click the different pages and it will change.
Oh.
And scroll.
Okay. Click the different pages.
Or you can scroll up and down inside your document on your screen, and we'll see it scrolling.
Okay. So this is the application for the Social Security card that everybody sees here. All right. And I'm going to show you the designations that they give everyone. And it's not letting me move my, okay. I should be able to share it within the window. But... All right. Is it moving, Dr. G?
Yes.
Okay. I see. Okay. So I had to go back to my original. All right. Real quick, I want to show you all something. If you look at 6 and 7 here, you see ethnicity and you see race.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And look at the options they give you for race. All right. Black, African American, American Indian, other, Pacific Islander. Now, these terms or these options are derived from the Office of Management and Budget, which is now where I'm going to take you now. Now, let me come back to you, Dr. G, and pull up another document so that you all can get the gist of what I'm showing you. Okay.
So I noticed now they asked for both the parents' so-called social security numbers. I don't think when I was born, that was required. It was such a long time ago. But now they're linking these numbers together
Right. Now also, Dr. G, that's a good point. But what I want everybody to understand is that when you see these documents, that don't think you have to use these documents. Okay. Any document is a presentment, because this document is going to require your autograph. So remember, this is a presentment to contract with them. So this is a contract offer. This is no different from a application for a job. It's no different. So if you don't see a box that relates to you, then you create a box. And when you alter or edit the original presentment, that is referred to in contract law as a counteroffer. Okay? So now, hypothetically speaking, say you was to fill it out and use to autograph it. Okay? So now your autograph makes you a witness. And if you don't reserve your rights with your autograph, then you're signing what we call as naked, which means that you take on all the commercial liability and you agree to everything within the document, not knowing that this document is written in legalese. So you looking at these words and you think they have a general definition, but they don't. They have a legal definition. And if you look up the definition of legalese, Legalese, is the legal technical language used to write laws and contracts. So whenever you're coming in contact with a public official or a policy enforcer, aka police officer, or anyone else that's attempting to contract with you, including getting bills in the mail, getting notices in the mail, jury notices in the mail, anything that comes in the mail that requires your agreement, your consent by way of your autograph, which you call a signature, it's an offer to contract. So stop looking at these things as if they're just mail. They're all offers to contract. So the solution to the problem is, how are you contracting? How are you protecting your interests? Are you being misrepresented and being referred to as property? Are you using property of the federal government or national government? Those terms are synonymous. For example, are you allowing them to refer to you as a person, as an individual? Are you allowing them to say that you have a zip code? They're putting you in a federal zone, therefore taking you outside of your country, taking you off the land, and putting you into a territory of the national or federal government. If you're allowing them to do that to you, then the answer is simple. You don't know how to contract. So what we're going to talk about is, how do you contract? And the first thing you need to do is add a tool to your arsenal. That first tool is going to be a legal dictionary or a law dictionary. It doesn't matter which one you get, but most of the legal community uses Black's Law, 4th edition up through the 8th edition. That's the one that most of them use. As a word of advice, the older the document, like for example, if you was doing research on the Constitution for the United States of North America, 1787 to 1791, then you would want to get a dictionary that was in use back then. Because in order for you to become aware of the spirit and intent that the authors were using to write that instrument, you don't want to use a dictionary from 2022. You want to use a dictionary that was popular back then. And oftentimes you can find out which one they were using. That information is accessible. So with that being said, this document here, okay? Now, mind you, the Social Security Act, anytime you see act, statute, or code, then you're dealing with the national government. Okay? You're dealing with a democracy. That's what you're dealing with. When you're dealing with the Constitution and common law, you're dealing with the Republic. And the Republic, they don't have statutes and codes like the national government does or the federal government. Okay? So with that being said, I'm going to show you another document. They do have laws, but not like the national government. So if I want to show you a different document now, Dr. G, I need to stop this one and start it again and show you another one?
Or you can switch pages, bring up the next. If the documents are totally different in a different
Yes, the
window.
documents are different.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to share with you all another document, and I'm going to share with you all the origin document from where they derive the definitions for those terms.
I think it's important to know where it started, but I do know that you're going to, because a lot of folks might say, okay, well, I'm already grown and I didn't have anything to do with what happened with my, at birth. But this still does that, and when you're going to correct things and change things, you need to know what happened and how it went wrong, if I'm right.
That's right. You need to be able to trace yourself back to the beginning, because fraud has no statute of limitations. And any valid contract needs to have an offer and acceptance and consideration. Those three components. And if you're not giving full disclosure of the details, full disclosure, and if you don't know what the words mean, because one word is supposed to have one meaning. If you don't even know that one word has 90 different interpretations, then you can't possibly be on the same equal level or platform. You can't make a proper acceptance of an offer because you have no idea what you're signing up for. So with that being said, this is ethnicity and race identification. Now, this document is put out by the Office of Management and Budget. You see at the top here, U.S. Office of Personnel Management Guide to Personal Data Standards. This is it has the origin office of it. Race, here's the authority for it here.
And can you make that size a little bigger?
I'm going to try. Let me see.
Clicking on the plus sign.
Okay. Oh, you know what? I need to go to mine. Okay. Yep. Hold on for a second. Let me do that. Okay. I got to remember, I always have to go to my document and do it. Okay. How's that?
Yes, it's getting bigger. A little bit, yeah.
How's that?
Okay. There we go.
All right. Okay. So you see here, this is the authority. This is the office that puts it out. You see this? Office of Management and Budgets. We're talking commerce, people. Now look down here at the definition of the categories. And here's the categories right here. Look at the definition. I want you to look real close. Okay? In particularly at the Black or African American. A person having origins in any of the Black racial groups of Africa. Now, I'm just going to follow my cursor, and I'm going to take you here to peoples. Look at peoples here for white, peoples here for Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander. Look at peoples here for Asian. Look at peoples here for American Indian or Alaskan Native. So what they're telling you here is that you are a res, R-E-S. They're identifying you as a res, a thing in law. It's called a thing. Look it up. R-E-S. They're identifying the thing resident right here. You're a person having origins in any of the Black racial groups of Africa. You do not, according to them, you don't have origin in any people. So this is one of the ways that they utilize the Social Security number to take you outside of the human, or should I say, Homo sapien family. Because that word human and human being, you need to be careful with that too. So this is the Social Security number right here. And this is how they use it. Now, when some people get nationalized, then or when they correct their status, then because if you are a man or a woman that is considered, I won't say of African descent, but I would say copper colored or indigenous to this land, then you are connected to the original woman of the planet. Safe to say, because you can create, genetically speaking, every color on the spectrum of a man or a woman. You have that ability hidden in your DNA, whereas others don't. So let's just say that. So with that being said, Europe got its name from Queen Europa. Queen Europa, if she was here in 2022 on this continent, she will be called Black or African American. So the Indo-Aryans from the Eurasian plains, they can't even claim Europe. Not to mention, there is a nice little book that I want you all to get a hold of, and it's called The Races of Europe. If you all haven't heard of that before, it's called The Races of Europe, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. 1 second, Dr. G. Let me grab this book real quick because I want the watchers to order it. So you can see that your people came from everywhere, and a lot of them had the names that you think are slave names now. And I know that's going to upset a lot of people. Yeah, please. It's going to set up a lot of people, but the truth of the matter is, these names were not all colonist names. And for people that make such claims, the small one, the one I just got, Races of Europe, the people that make such claims, anybody, including myself, if I make a claim, you all, then I should be able to stand on it. It's only fair. Try making a claim in a court of law, so to speak, and you can't stand on it. Then they're going to call it hearsay, possibly. So if you claim something, be able to stand on it, be able to support it with documentation. Nope, not that one. But let me move on. I'll have someone get in the book for me. So now, back to the hospital process. So now the baby is going through the intake process. You have the bracelet just so that they don't lose your property or your child. When I say property, I don't mean to dehumanize or denationalize your heir, but technically that is your property. He or she is your property, not that. It's not a thing. Is your property. So with that being said, when those documents come to you and you fill those documents out, if you're using the convention of a zip code, you're putting yourself in the federal zone. And I can attest to this because I just went through this with someone who just had a child, and the hospital gave her hell, but they let up. So because she didn't use the convention of the zip code, this was in Georgia. She put down that she was in I believe it was Macon in the Georgia Republic, zip exempt. And she also put down her race as being Asiatic. And they definitely didn't like that. But with that being said, they initially autofilled, a woman autofilled all that information in and said she was African American. And she just happened to catch it. So what they're doing is looking at you just like the policy enforcers and say, hey, you're Black, before you even get to identify yourself, before you even get to declare who you are and your nationality, you are instantly looked upon as being Black, Negro, or African American. So I want everybody to understand that by operation of law, and policy enforcers, aka police officers, they work under the presumption and assumption of color of law. And color of law gives a semblance of something that is lawful and or legal, but is not. But that is what they operate off of. And if you have any police officers that are watching, I'm quite sure they know what I'm talking about. And if anybody has any attorneys that they can contact and verify this information, then you'll find out that they operate under the presumption and assumption of color of law. So when they see you, before you get to declare yourself, hey, I'm a foreign national, or I'm an American national, or I'm a state national, they're going to deal with you accordingly. I've had people who have used all forms of identification get harassed by policy enforcers, from their own driver's licenses to their affidavits, notary affidavit, pass cards, passports, doesn't matter. When they see you, that's how they treat you. And your best bet is just to stay calm and go through it, because we all know if you grew up here, you should know what you're up against by now. Not all of them are the same, but a lot of them are. So with that being said, I'm going to take you to a definition now, Dr. G, of these legislative created terms and property that people do not need to be using, or in any contract allow them to refer to them as. And I'm going to take you to it right now. Well, I keep on forgetting. Let me go here first. Pull it up. All right. That entire intake process is to remove you from your state citizenship domicile, to take you out of that and put you in the federal zone. Domicile is a big word. If you all don't know what that means, you need to look it up. Okay, here we go. All right. And when you're doing research, when you're looking up terms, and or if you want answers, because there's a lot of information out here, there's a lot of misinformation out floating around. What I do is I get my results from studying case law. So you can go to justia.com or Google Scholar, and you can look up court cases, Supreme Court cases, or court cases in your jurisdiction. And you will find out that you don't need to listen to a guru. Somebody can point you in the right direction, or a self-acclaimed guru, but take your word from judges or justice of the peace, et cetera, et cetera. Get your information from them. It will take you a lot further than listen to somebody else. And once again, you're going to have to start reading. There's no way around it. Okay. I don't know if you just saw that screen pop up, but did it pop
popped up, but then it disappeared.
It disappeared. That was interesting. Okay. So let me just bring it back up here. All right. It is. So what I'm going to start doing is just bring it up here first. Okay.
So you have to click share again.
Yeah. I'm just locating the document first. That way, when I click it, I can go right to the Zoom. Okay. All right. Here we go. All right. You know, now I see when I was on the some of these, witnessing some of this, people was doing all that clicking in the background. Now I see why. Okay. Here we go. All right. So what I'm going to show you now, this is the United States Code, you all. And so here, we're going to look at the definitions, 26 U.S.C. 7701. First one here we have is person. The term person shall be construed to mean and include an individual, a trust, estate, partnership, association, company, or corporation. Now this is Title 26, and this is considered positive law. So this is legislature. Okay. So if the government wasn't de facto, this would be equivalent to the law of the land. Okay. Title 26. All right. But with that being said, that's person. Okay. And notice the disclaimer, A, when using this title, okay, we're not otherwise distinctly expressed or manifested incompatible with the intent thereof. So person. So now let's look at, it says individual, a trust, estate, a partnership. All right. I want to show you another definition. Foreign, when applied to a corporation or partnership, means a corporation or partnership which is not domestic. That's another key word I want you all to pay attention to, domestic. Because when you think of domestic, you think the countries that make up the 50 states of the Union, the United States of America, but that's not what domestic means. The 50 states of the Union, or should I say countries, are actually foreign to the United States. And we're going to get to that. And this is what I mean by knowing what these words mean. We're going to look up a couple more. United States, using this Title 26, the term United States, when used in a geographical sense, includes only the states. And it's important that you notice it's capital states because they're referring to like the states of Ohio, the states of Delaware, the states of is what they're referring to, and the District of Columbia, because the states of all of them are territories of the United States. They're not the de jure countries. They're not the republic. Okay? So we're going to keep on going down. You have any questions, Dr. G? Anybody
I
wants to?
let me see. I'm just gonna. I don't have any questions. I'm just seeing if
Okay.
there are any in the chat. It's a lot of talk. Well, here's a comment. It says, please let the audience know, just in case this applies to the Caribbean territories as well as other parts of the earth, the birth certificates, etc.
This is now when you stretch beyond the reach of the federal territories, and they tell you, like, for example, here we go right here. United States. United States person. Okay. And I'll answer that question with this question. All right. United States person. The term United States person means a citizen or resident of the United States. B, a domestic partnership. C, a domestic corporation. D, an estate other than a foreign estate within the meaning of paragraph 31. We'll get down there. E, any trust if a court within the United States is able to exercise primary supervision over the administration of the trust. It has to be within the United States. Remember, we're not talking about the country, okay? We're talking about their territories, okay? So we're not talking about the constitutional republic. And 2 says one or more United States persons have the authority to control all substantial decisions of the trust, which means that if you're a person or an individual and you're tied into that trust and you have not gotten into it sui juris, which means that you did so in your proper person of your own right as a man or a woman. If they have claimed you as their property and you're using their property, including the terms person or individual, then they are assuming jurisdiction over it. Now, a foreign estate. The term foreign estate means an estate, the income of which from sources without. I want you all to pay very close attention to this. Without the United States, which is not effectively connected with the conduct of a trade or business within. You see, without and within the United States. So you see, you can be without and within. They're not talking about being in the Caribbean. They're talking about right here in North America. Is not includable in gross income under subtitle A. You know, Title 26 is the IRS, but we all know how strong the IRS is. So, or should I say, appear to be. Now, what I want to show you, as far as outside, if it's not a U.S. territory, and they list what the U.S. territories are, or if they don't have some sort of compact or agreement or treaty that allows them to extend their arm over to, say, like the Caribbean, or etc., then no, it does not apply to you all. This is the law for them and how they do business here and with their territories and their enclaves and their possessions, including forts, etc.
So let me ask you this for the benefit of those that are in the Caribbean, because we have a lot of viewers in the Caribbean and the UK and other, even, China and so forth. When, we have Moors everywhere. So in terms of those that are not on or in the so-called U.S. territory, but they are under, say, the Crown or some other occupational situation, how do they go about, bringing themselves into their proper person, the way the rest of the way Moors would do here?
Well, Moors, a lot of Moors have different ways of doing things, but let me just address how any man or woman would do it. Okay, and I would say that this would be universal. Okay, all men and women, everything starts in the beginning from you attesting to something and then autographing it. Prior to you being able to write, you had to communicate, and your communication was done by speech or symbols. Okay, so with that being said, I'm just going to fast forward you to where we are today. So you have to declare, and I'm going to use Noble Drew Ali here because he is one of my heroes, to declare. So whenever someone addresses you incorrectly or attempts to do harm to you by denationalizing you or dehumanizing you, so to speak, you need to declare it. And you've been doing it your entire life. You've been doing it in conversation. Somebody call you out your name, you correct them. That's a form of declaration. If someone puts a claim on you and you object to it, or someone says basically you did something, you say, I didn't do that. Well, that's an objection. That's a declaration. You didn't do it. So it starts with you communicating. So how do you communicate with people who like to jump from jurisdiction to jurisdiction and hide behind artificial constructs? What I mean by that is this. The state of New Jersey, is an artificial construct. It's a juristic person. Now, these are all legal terms. You need to look them up. Artificial person, which means that it's not a man or a woman. So it doesn't have eyes, ears, nose, mouth, hand, or whatever. So you're not going to walk up to the state of New Jersey and hold a conversation like we're having a conversation. It's not going to happen because it only exists in name only on paper. But behind that name are a group of people that own that artificial construct. And what you don't know is how it was formulated. Basically, you don't know the organizational structure behind it. You don't know if it was a corporation or is a corporation. You don't know if it's an LLC. You don't know if it's a trust. You don't know if it's an unincorporated business entity. You've never seen the articles of incorporation. You've never seen the trust indenture. But what you can do is your research. And the state of New Jersey has a constitution, or New Jersey Republic has a constitution. And from that constitution, this is going to be synonymous with any government structure on the planet. You can go to their constitution because that is their rules and regulations by which they operate. And if they have a constitution, which they do, they may call it something different in other countries, but find the rules and regulations by which they operate. And then they're going to delegate authority to different branches or different people. And that's how you find out who you need to contact. Like, for example, here in what we call the United States of America, in the country of Ohio, the Republic, you have a attorney general, just like you have on the United States national side, you have a U.S. attorney general. You have the Department of State or the Secretary of State. On the national side, you have the U.S. Department of State or the Secretary. So you need to find out per your constitution. If you never read your constitution in the country you live in, now you know I'm talking about the Republic now. So I'm talking about your country. And I'm saying that so you don't get confused with we mentioned the word state and state for the United States, because you're in a country with its own constitution. Start there. Go to their homepage, look up their constitution, see who they delegated their authority to. Contact those agents or agencies or body politics. And whenever you contact them, if you're going to do so in writing, then you want to make sure that you do so with an affidavit. If they are part of the Hague, then they have to respond with an affidavit. If they don't, then they agree to whatever your claim is. So if you want answers, you're going to have to start talking to these people. And you don't want to write them. Say, for example, if you had an issue with the water company, you don't want to write the water company. You want to write the manager or CEO and use their legal name that's acting as manager or CEO of the water company, so you can get directly to them. And you want to do so with registered mail, because you can use that registered mail receipt as evidence in any court of law in the event that you need to file a tort or sue someone. You need to have evidence. And so when you reach out to them, if it's not a man or a woman that you're going to be talking to face to face, that you can enter into an implied, in fact, contract or either an express written one. If it's a body politic, then you need to make sure that you do not address your correspondence to just the name of the artificial person, because you will not get the remedy that you're seeking. You need to find out who is acting as chief executive officer, who is acting as treasurer, who is acting as CEO, CFO, etc., and address them by their legal name, because now you can hold them responsible.
I'm going to shift gears a bit. We had a conversation
Okay.
yesterday with regard to the process of proclaiming one's nationality. And
Okay.
that's a biggie. And I opened up with that. And whether or not one needs to go through a temple, or can they write their own paperwork out, or what is the process? And we talked about witnesses and affidavits, and and that's where a lot of a lot of men and women get hung up. Okay, so I got this proclamation, I got this judicial notice and proclamation. What am I going to do with it? What do I do with it that makes it I don't want to call it legal, lawful?
Okay, let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to how it was first done originally. Better yet, let's go back to how it was taken from you. It was taken from you by your you being deceived by fraud, not knowing the full intention of what they was going to do with your affidavit that you signed claiming your heir. And then they took that information and they put it onto a birth record. And from the birth record, the derivative document is the certificate of live birth. And from that, they created the birth certificate. And they bundled that birth certificate with a bunch of other bonds, because that's what it is. Every birth certificate has a CUSIP number. So it's an instrument. And they bundled them together and they put them with other securities, and they started trading and making money off of them. So that is how it was taken from you. So if you go back to the beginning and you go back to the very first man, take some of your patriarchs. For example, take Jesus, for example, Jesus the Christ. Or take, for example, I'm going to use another prophet. I'm going to say Noble Drew Ali. How did he do it? It all starts with you declaring who you are. That's where it starts. You've been doing it ever since you've been able to talk. Now you just need to do it and put it on paper. And then if you're going to stick to the common law method of doing it, and I'm talking about principle now, because there's few principles and many methods. And you can choose whatever method you want, but some methods come at a greater cost than others. So it's all going to start. Either method you choose, it does not matter. It's all going to involve some document that you have to sign. Some document you're going to have to sign, either swear or attest to under the penalty of perjury that the information in there is true. Somewhere you're going to have to sign a document. So your right to contract, we're talking Constitution now, for the United States of America, and your right to associate, we're talking your political right, your attachment to your country. When you came out of your mother, you were already what they call a national of the country you were in. They refer to as a state. So I'm going to use the state of Ohio. You are already a national. Then they presumably took that from you. So how do you get it back? You notify them. The same way they took it, they took your mother's autograph and fraudulently used that to take your statehood from you and made you a citizen of the United States. So we're not going to make this simple at all. A lot of people wonder what they should do with a declaration or a proclamation. Well, what exactly is a declaration or proclamation? A declaration is you informing someone of who you are in person. A proclamation is you doing that and publishing it. And when you're publishing it, you're sending it out to the public. The public is synonymous for government. So if you want to know how you correct a record, and every process is going to involve what I'm telling you all. So you need to choose what method works best for you. But every process is going to require you to publish something because you need to inform the public, because the public is the one that put the claim on you. The public is synonymous for government. So now what you're doing is putting a counterclaim out there. Now, if you want my opinion, if you are someone who has been falsely accused or presumed or assumed to be some sort of adjective, such as Black, African American, Negro, colored, whatever, and to be truth be told, white, same thing. Okay, Asian is the same thing. If you want to be truthful about it and be scientific about it, you were never any of those things. Not one day in your life. You was never a Negro. Think about it. A foreigner walks up to you and calls you a peanut head. Does that make you a peanut head? It's just a name. Let me put it to you another way. Say you invite some friends over to your house and they get rude and you tell them to get out. They don't want to leave. So now you got to put them out. And so a fight breaks out. Say you get knocked out in the fight. You get a concussion. When you come to, you don't even know that this is your house anymore. And all your friends have left. But the people who are still in your house is the people you was trying to put out. So now they telling you what your name is because you don't remember your name. Remember, you got knocked out in the tussle. You have amnesia now. You don't remember your name. You don't remember this is your house. Nothing looks familiar to you. Nothing. But slowly over time, you start to get your memory back. And things are starting to look familiar. Then you're out there cleaning the yard and somebody walks up to you and calls you by your real appellation. And you look like, who are you talking about? No, that's you. You don't know who you are? No, man, what happened to you? Man, all I know is I got into a fight. I woke up. That's all I remember. I don't remember nothing. Man, your name is, this is my house, and that is your house. They told you your name was amnesia. Were you really ever amnesia? Were you? Not for one day. You was never Black. You was never a Negro. You was never African American. How was somebody from way over there going to come way over here and tell you who you are? After you invited them into your house. You told them to leave and a war broke out. Not one day were you, this is just my opinion now. A lot of people have their own opinions. I can't remember one day I was a nigga or a Negro. Not one day. This legacy flowing through my veins is of Moorish descent. It always has been. It never changed from when they called me a Negro or from when I thought that was part of my heritage. It never changed. Blood's still the same. Bones still the same. My hue is still the same. I may lighten up in the winter and tan in the summer, but I'm still the same. So my job is to declare it. Every time somebody refers to me as that, is to declare who I am and to ex-rail the accusation. See, nobody can tell me more about the ens legis, aka the straw, aka the federal government or national government's property. They created it. One thing about all of these movements, they always tell everybody that ain't you. The straw ain't you. The straw man ain't you. It was never you. So if it was never you, why are you trying to change it? It's not even it's not even your property to change.
When you say if it was never you, why are you trying to change it? You're talking about some of these processes that require
I'm talking about some of the processes. That's right. And the methods that are used. I'm not talking about the principle. I'm talking about the methods. I'm talking about the methods. So
that's Grant Sheik's, I don't want to call it beef, but where he and I were having, go at odds about some things about, process, about going before them, the de facto, the colonizers, to fix something that was never yours to fix from the beginning, as opposed to just declaring, proclaiming, and putting something on record. But he feels like you should never have to go to them because they were never, they were false. They were de facto. And how can you fix a fraud with a fraud? As opposed to those who might say you do need to go to them and you need to do this, and this in order to get them to agree or get them to agree that you know who you are and you're not Negro, Black, colored, African American, but you are Asiatic or more. You want their sign off on who you are.
They're going to sign off inevitably regardless. But let me tell you what I mean by that. I've heard over the years both perspectives of that, but let's stick to the foundations here. There is many methods and few principles. Okay, so to stay in honor, if the straw was never you to begin with, and I believe we can all agree on that, it was never you. So let's just stick to the beginning. It was never you. And actually, this should have been more evident to some people than others. Whenever you go to show up in any of the policy enforcers' so-called administrative venues, you have no legal standing. If you show up, if you make an appearance using someone else's property, a lot of people think, and they're partially correct, but not fully, that it is the Negro, Black, and colored that has no standing at law. That's partially true, but that's not the whole truth. The other part of that truth is, and Barack Obama said that Black has no standing in law. That's partially true, but what he didn't tell you was that you're showing up using somebody else's property and you're trespassing. You can't show up using somebody else's property. You see, it was never you to begin with. That's why it has no standing. Now, if you would have shown up as a man and not claimed to be that name, you would get a different outcome. So
could you explain? I mean,
yes,
how would one do that?
All right, how would one do that? Remember, the country, the territory, I'm going to use Indiana Territory. So I'm talking about the republic, the country. When you walk into a so-called courtroom, you're leaving the land and you're walking into a structure which is controlled, the jurisdiction of that structure, that vessel. It's a vessel on dry dock. It's a vessel. It's owned and controlled. The name is right on there. Okay, whatever the municipal court is. It's owned and controlled by the federal government, the national government. So now you're under an entirely different jurisdiction. So you need to have a pass. You can't walk in there as their property, nor can you petition them as their property, because they're going to take your petition and say that you are appearing pro se. Just read your court documents. You're appearing pro se. So when you submit any type of a name change document or a divorce decree or anything like that, if you look at your documents, you appear pro se. And look at the definition of pro se.
In one's own behalf.
Pro se.
Right.
Which source are you using for that?
Google.
Oh, Google. Okay. Look it up in a legal dictionary.
It says also appears without an attorney. So and without an attorney is considered pro se.
Yeah.
Appears before the court without an attorney.
Right. But as an individual or person, it's in the documentation. Now look up sui juris. SUIJURIS.
So juris. That is of age, independent.
By one's own right. Yeah.
The beneficiaries are all sui juris, yeah.
Yeah. Independent meaning that you're not beholden to anyone else or being controlled, or you're not someone else's property.
Right. Literally
they are polar opposites. They are polar opposites. Okay. So now, unless you show up with an attorney who's going to talk for you, it's not just the Black and African American color, it's the fact that you're using somebody else's property. The whole person and individual is the government's property, period. And that's what they have you claim that from your birth as their property. You want to get from up under that. The simple solution to that is simply to rebut the rebuttable presumption, because it's all a rebuttable presumption is what it is. You're presumed to be that thing until you step up and say otherwise. And the truth of the matter is, if all you have is a birth certificate, you don't have any other document outside of their construct, their claim of you, that's claiming yourself. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, but I think what for most men and women, trying to get the language right, they just want to know what language ought to be in those affidavits or presentments that should be made to disengage oneself from, from that.
Keep it simple. You all don't have to use any legal technical language. You can keep it simple. And in the event that you for example, if you didn't know any law at all, but now you know that they're calling you African American and Black and you want to get it corrected, you can simply construct an affidavit and claim who you are, that you are a natural man or woman born from a mother, etc. Use your normal language, and you was born in the republic, in the country of wherever you were born, your so-called state. Have a notary sign it, but also with that, put in a sheet or an addendum to it that gives the definition of the words that you use so they won't be misconstrued. And challenge everything that's a presumption about you. Tell them that I'm not a person. Tell them I'm not an individual. Tell them I'm a man or I'm a woman. I was born here, and this birth certificate that was used to call me a person or an individual, which takes me outside of my domicile of my country, and I'm going to use just Indiana or I'm going to use Pennsylvania. It doesn't matter. As long as it's one of the 50 states of the Republic, the Union is what I'm talking about. The de jure United States of America is what I'm referring to. Each one is a country. Just check your Constitution. So that simple form of an affidavit is rebutting the presumption of who you are. Now, instead of going through the courts, think about what was being done long before the courts even existed. Affidavits, attestations. It went from communication, and when people formed body politics or artificial persons, then they started using these pieces of paper because the artificial person can't see or read. And that's how they reach the people behind them, the clerks, etc. But you can start with an affidavit. You don't have to worry about what the language needs to be and whatnot. All you need to do is address what the claim is on you. That's the proper legal term, the claim. And the claim is that you're Black and African American or colored. The claim is that you're a U.S. citizen. So you need to know what the difference is, or just simply say, no, I was born in the New Jersey Republic. And the birth certificate is evidence of it. That's how you address the presumption and assumption that you are not a state national when you're born.
And to whom do you direct those affidavits to, or the affidavit to? Who gets it?
Typically, what you would do is the director to the heads of state. Like, for example, you could include, well, in contract law, notice the agents, notice the principal, notice the principals, notice the agent. So these are all agents and principals of one another. So on the de jure side, you can address it to your governor, your mayor. You can put them all in a loop, as they say, CC them in. Your governor, your mayor, your attorney general, your secretary of state. That's everybody in your area. And be honest with you, we all know that the coroner has more authority than the mayor. As far as the land is concerned, I would even include the coroner in on it, because they all answer to one another, or they are agents of one another. And then as far as on the national side, the U.S. Department of State, and they probably have forms that you fill out. Now, I would be very careful using their forms, because a lot of times on their websites, they tell you don't have to use these forms. Or if you do have to use the form, even if they tell you not to alter the form, then you need to send in a document that you protest or you object to the presumptuous language in their documents that don't properly reflect your status. This is what some people call the ancient way of doing it, because a lot of the forms are using constructive language. And these definitions and terms are throwing you back into their jurisdiction from which you're trying to get out of. So instead of doing that, you either do a counter offer by creating boxes for yourself, or Xing out certain things and then initialize them the way you were taught. Or if you wasn't taught, that's a way to perform a counter offer. Or if you're going to fill out the form because they won't accept it any other way, don't send in the form alone. Send in the form with an affidavit. Some people call it an affidavit of truth, or et cetera, et cetera. Send in a form. If you go to the Department of State's website, the U.S. Department of State, which a lot of these smaller agencies have to answer to them. You look on their website, they'll even tell you when it comes to a birth certificate or birth record that they even accept an affidavit. So I only mentioned that to point out to this. And I believe you were once affiliated with the Department of State or something like that, right, Dr. G?
No.
What are those agencies?
No, it was the Department of Housing and Development, Urban Development.
Okay. Well, with that being said, you know the power of an affidavit. Power of an affidavit, period. So if you don't like the form that they're telling you to use, don't feel any pressure, okay? Because that's part of what they use. It's a tactic they use to put you under pressure to try to get you to compel. And then they got you. Don't do it. Simply put in the affidavit with everything. And what I would consider suggesting everybody do is create an affidavit and make several copies of it and call it an affidavit of my truth, or an affidavit of my proper status, or an affidavit of my country political status, or something like that. Anything like that will work, because all you're doing is telling the truth. Truth of the matter is, you was born in the country of whatever your state name is. That's the truth. They never had a right, nor did they have permission, nor do they have a contract, nor would they produce a valid international agreement, which is what they're supposed to have because you're foreign to their jurisdiction, saying that your mother or your guardian gave them permission to take you outside of your natural country and put you into a separate jurisdiction.
Okay, so here's the next question. After one goes through that procedure, creates their affidavit and a fact and correction, sends it to those entities that you mentioned, you don't hear anything back one way or another. So I mean, I'm assuming when you're doing an affidavit, are you giving them, are you requesting a response, or like in a certain period of time after which it just means that it is accepted, or whether it's accepted or not, is that it doesn't matter whether they accept it or not? That's one question. And the second question would be, after that is done, where does one stand jurisdictionally? Does one have to be a part of an organization, a temple, a consulate, or I mean, I don't know. Where is one just out here floundering and saying now I'm, because
No,
who has
no,
jurisdiction? Where's,
no.
or are you?
It's a much too volatile time for that. Now, what I'm going to say is that you should only move, um, only make steps that you can stand on. Okay, so you're not going to be able to do any of this and be able to stand on it if you don't study. Okay, don't take my word for it. What I'm telling you is a method. There are many methods. There are a few principles. The principle is that no matter which method that you choose, you're going to have to declare and proclaim. Okay? You're going to have to. So what I'm telling you is that you don't need to go, not that there's anything wrong with you getting an attorney to help you out. You don't have to, but you can. Be leery of that though, because when you go through these processes, if the straw was fraudulent or fraudulently created, a derivative of your energy without your permission, your intellectual property is what gave birth to the value of that ens legis that's behind that birth certificate. You haven't received a single benefit from it. So if you or your mother or father or guardian, whoever was legally responsible for you, did not give them permission to do that and they created it, then fraud has no statute of limitations. So now, you now have the opportunity to correct it. Now, you can attempt to go to the courts and do it. And I'm not saying that you won't have a degree of apparent success. But remember, if it was fraudulently created, how are you going to correct it when it was never you? The proper way to do it, in my opinion, even if you don't have anybody to help you, how would you handle somebody accusing you of stealing something? Think about it. If somebody walked up to you right now and say, hey, you stole my wallet, you would say, no, I didn't. So what I'm saying is declare yourself and say, no, I didn't, or no, that's not me. And send it to the same people, your affidavit to the same people that claim that it is you. There are agents and principles of one another. Don't make it any more difficult than what it needs to be. Or you can go through a temple, or you can go through an attorney, and you can ask them what their opinion is. But here's the difference. When you go through a court and you are addressing or attempting to commit an overt act, in law, that's what it's called. Dr. G, can you put it up on your phone real quick? Overt act. This is what it is. This is how they get general jurisdiction or in personam jurisdiction from the beginning. So if you always have the right to go back and claim fraud on the creation of the straw, go ahead.
It's an act directed toward another person that indicates an attempt to kill or harm and that justifies self-defense? Or is there another meaning?
Yeah, there's another meaning.
Okay,
is that the legal definition?
It says legal definition of overt act. In criminal law, an overt act is the one that can be clearly proved by evidence and from which criminal intent can be inferred, as opposed to a mere intention in the mind to commit a crime.
That's right. Now, the intent, you're intending to change something. And I've had this discussion so many times over the years, but if you want to talk to a legal professional, they'll tell you that when you make an appearance in that name in an intent to correct it, they will let you do it. but it's fraud to begin with. It's like saying, yeah, I know y'all cheated me, but you know what? I'm gonna forgive y'all for everything y'all did because I'm gonna go ahead and correct this and accept this now, and I'm gonna fix it. But once again, it was never you. So why don't people just stop telling people that the straw is not you and you need to correct it? Why don't you just stop doing that? Because if it was never you, why are you worried about correcting it? So you're worried about the stigma put on you. Well, that's why they call it ex-rel. The Supreme Court even utilizes ex-rel, meaning ex-relation. So whenever they bring up that particular straw or particular ens legis or artificial person, you can inform about it. Sure. Even when you autograph your correct appellation and then ex-rel the straw. It's utilized in the court system all the time. And that's the same way you would contact them using your affidavits and everything. You would utilize the principle of ex-relation, is what they call it.
I have a few questions when I post. A couple in the chat ask, what if you were born in DC, in the District of Columbia?
District of Columbia it's the 10 square mile radius of DC is properly was probably given to them by the organic constitution. So yeah, you DC, I would not want to be you, but hey, if you're trying to get out of it, there is a remedy. It may require some additional steps, but you wouldn't necessarily have to expatriate, but it would all start with the same principle. It would all start with the same principle. So, no matter what, you're going to have to attest to something, or you're going to have to object to something. You're going to have to object to it. And if you ask me, it's still fraud to begin with. It's still fraud. No matter how you cut it, it's still fraud. What they did to you in the beginning at those hospitals, which are federal territories, they should not have done. They don't have a contract. Period. If it was lawful, you wouldn't be able to change it. Well, you'd be able to change it, but you wouldn't be able to claim that it was done unlawfully or illegally.
Here's another question. Why not set from Laurel Rail? I hope I'm not butchering your appellation. Why not set up a body politic and hire one? Well, it's this person, but someone as the private attorney general.
You can set up a body politic. I mean, many people set up micronations, nation states to a degree. A lot of people do that. The Amish have done it. A lot of the Ashkenazi Jews do it. There was a Jewish family that just did it in Columbus, Ohio. They set up their own micronation. You can do it.
Is there? But if you're setting up a micronation or anything, why would it be necessary to set up something new rather than go back to what was original? Or is that not possible?
Well,
because you talked about treaty early on and you know, Constitution treaty.
It depends on if you have a group of people and you're all moving as one together and you want to form your own nation, so to speak, then you have the power to do that, because you have a right to associate and you have a right to contract. So you have a right to do that. You have the right to create your own bylaws. You got the right to create your own organization. Your right to association is protected by the organic constitution. So you can do it. There's nothing wrong with it.
Which would mean that's the problem with us is that we can't come together. Yeah. I mean, you would think that we would want to all come together, but it's always the question of, I think, who's in charge, who's running it, and that's the therein lies the problem. Whereas other ethnicities, you see, if there is any discord, it's behind the scenes. It's not, they present themselves as a united front, and therefore, a position of strength where we are very quick and outwardly, in discord with one another. with each other.
This is true. I don't know where the origin of a lot of that stuff's come from. A lot of people want to give that to slavery and whatnot as far as the origin of it. But the truth of the matter is, I don't have that same outlook. There's many methods to get anything done. If you want to go through the court system and get it done, if you feel better that way, then do it. I mean, but be able to stand on whatever you do. All I can tell you is that it all boils down to you having to attest under the penalty of perjury to some facts about yourself. Regardless, all of these organizations at one point in time, they're going to issue some sort of affidavit of a birth or some sort of record, even with a private organization, because if they are private or an unincorporated organization, then they have to claim you somehow or some way. They have to claim you. So with that being said, no matter which direction you go, you are going to be the one that's got the answer for everything that you do. Period. So with that being said, my personal preference is I would rather go in with no strings attached, because I'm going to look at, meaning I'm going to look at the fact that they never should have did what they did to begin with. And I'm going to also look at the fact that I was never what they claimed me to be. That was just their claim. And it's a rebuttable presumption written in their laws. If you can rebut it, then what does it tell you?
That it's not written in stone.
It's not written in stone.
It's not factually. It could be.
It's absolutely not. Absolutely not. You ought to see what they've done now to the whole Hamite claim of the Hamitic people, Shem, Ham, Japheth. You ought to see what the write-up they have now, and on the Hamites. And the Hamites are, from the Hamites come the Berbers, and from the Berbers come the what we call the Moors, and that entire scientific group of people make up the Ottoman Empire, with a few stragglers. But you ought to see what they've done with them now. I mean, you can even go to Wiki, which be careful when you use Wiki, but you can go to Wiki and read about it. So you're going to ultimately have to, no matter what, stand up for yourself and get accustomed and familiar with writing affidavits and reading, because that is going to be your only way out. Or either you're going to trust somebody else to do it for you, and if they don't present your interests correctly, then what?
Here's a question, a good one. Can you nationalize a deceased relative?
The deceased, on the top of my, initially I'm going to say no. Initially, okay, but I will say this. You may not need to. Okay, so depending upon you being able to prove that the deceased was born in a certain country, then, like, for example, I'll use my my grandfather. I know he was born. So could I prove where he was born? Yes. Was he then considered a U.S. citizen somehow or another, but yet he was born as a state national? Yeah, I could argue that point, because the records are there. Yeah, and they'll probably say it was a clerical error, or they probably won't say anything at all. And this is what you all are referring to when they don't respond. The truth of the matter is, you just haven't educated yourself on how to follow up when they don't respond. You have to send them another affidavit of non-response, and you have to default them out. And mind you, this is all done administratively, but what you are doing is administrating your estate or your life right now. Administrative, in my opinion, only refers to paperwork. You're just talking about paperwork. So when aren't you administrating? When aren't you? You've been administrating ever since you've been out on your own, whenever that was. You've been in business ever since you've been out on your own.
I'm trying to, there's a question here and someone's wanting clarity, but I'm not sure what the question is asking. What did he mean when he said that you can't come in here with someone else's property? Maybe that was when you were talking
Yeah,
about it was
no.
never you.
What I was saying by you can't go in with their property, which means that their property is the person or the individual. So basically, whenever you enter in one of their territories or their possessions, you need to have a pass. And typically, your documentation is your pass. So, for example, if you are petitioning the court for something, then you don't want to use their documentation. And if you read the fine print, they'll tell you a lot of times you don't have to use their documentation. Or if you do use their documentation, then on your documentation, you you don't make an appearance. What you do is initiate the cause of action in your proper person, in your proper standing as a man or woman, sui juris. You don't go in there. Go ahead, Dr. G.
I was going to ask you, if you do that, does that mean that when you do it, the only way you can tie it back to the straw is in the XREL?
That's right. That's exactly what I was about to say.
Okay.
That's exactly what I was about to say, because a lot of people have a tendency to think you have to run from the straw. You don't have to run from the straw, because you'll always be informing about the straw. What you don't want to do is amalgamate the two. You don't want to do that. You always want to stay separate from it. This is part of proclaiming your free and national name. If you amalgamate the two, how is it free and national?
Give an example of amalgamating the two, please.
An example of amalgamating the two, but it was said to do. I'm referring to myself and my interpretation of what Prophet Noble Drew Ali said. He said to do, and I'm going to paraphrase, do all new business in your free national name and keep the old business old. So the only way that you could possibly change anything and to do the opposite of that is by amalgamating them, making them one. So basically leave their records alone and XREL the name whenever it comes up. So I did my due diligence and searched for all of the records that I could find on the patriarch and the people that he put in his place, and see if they actually went through the process of doing that. If they went through the court process, if they went through the name change process, if they did all of that. And then I had to realize that all these processes have one thing in common: affidavits. Affidavits. Right now, you have one of the biggest court cases ever for voter fraud going on in Georgia that involves Donald Trump, because of all those people putting in affidavits. So when I realized they all had affidavits in common, then I realized that, hey, maybe there's no record of them doing that. It's because you're not supposed to do it that way. I'm not saying that you won't be able to get a passport or a pass card or whatever, but what I am saying is that the only way you can get a passport or pass card?
Well, I've heard of those who may have gotten them through, and the statuses of if they're foreign, was it national or whatever,
Yeah.
and they're not going necessarily through a temple or anything. They just, whatever process they found out that they could do and whatever they stated. I don't know if they drew boxes around anything or whatever, but they use that form, but their status or their jurisdictional status is not of a U.S. citizen. But they look like us.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. So basically all I'm saying is that if going through the course was the only way to get it done, then okay, you got something to stand on. But if it's not, if there's another method, then what is that other method? And if that other method does not involve you contracting, then that's the method I'm taking.
Let me ask you this, because I'm sure I haven't seen the question, but that, I have your contact information up on the screen. So we're talking about a little few minutes ago, you mentioned about, the affidavit and the correct structure and so forth. Do you provide assistance? I'm sure I'm not, to those who may need, they're hearing what you're saying. Okay, that affidavit is a simple process, and you can do this, that, and other. And I'm not sure if that works in all cases, because you got folks that are wanting to know about foreclosures and child support and the status of who they are, or not taking the and having to walk away from the jobs and different things. So are affidavits applicable in all of those situations, and do you provide any assistance or consultation to those who might want to start on this process that way, as opposed to some of the other things that have been put before us heretofore?
What I am doing is putting together a civics class. I don't, outside of teaching the fundamentals so that you will be able to learn on your own. And that's what my core objective is to help people to become aware of the lawful and legal aspects of all these actions. Because no matter what anybody says, there's going to be a document that you have to sign. I call it an autograph because it's a legal difference. There's going to be a document, and that document is going to require to you attesting or swearing that all the information is true and accurate to the best of your ability, or that you have firsthand knowledge of the information. And what I'm trying to tell the listeners is those are some of the core principles of an affidavit. So if it requires your autograph and it can't move forward in any other way but like that, then I'm going in without contracting.
Okay. Well, someone was saying that your website wasn't visible on any search, and this is actually your email address. So
I don't have a website. That is a email address. And so the only information that I can give you right now is when you email me, I may be able to give you some source documents because I can back up everything that I'm telling you. I wish I knew how to use this thing more because I have a ton of documents up here, but I can give you source documents that would help you become aware and become erudite in what you don't know so that you can stand on it. The problem with doing things for people, which I don't do, I would rather work along with them in the capacity of us sharing information and learning, because there's a lot to learn and you never stop, is that no matter what you do for people, in the end, Dr. G, they have to be the ones to stand on it.
Absolutely.
You see, you can put paperwork in for people, and then they can get in front of the administrator or adjudicator, and they can talk themselves right off of the paperwork. Now, the paperwork in this sense is a pass. This is what we call a sea pass. When you enter those vessels on dry docks that you call a court, the paperwork that preserves your I would say constitutionally protected rights as a man or woman is your pass. When you step outside of that pass, then they get jurisdiction, general jurisdiction, or in personam jurisdiction. That's how they get it, because you talked yourself right out of the paperwork. Why? Because you've been conditioned to think that you were just going to hire somebody else and go in there and talk for yourself. But see, when you go get an attorney, then you give that attorney power of attorney. That's part of the agreement, unless you put the attorney under a different contract. But if you don't even know you can do that, then you don't know what you don't know. So when you go get an attorney, then you submit to the jurisdiction of the court.
True. There's a question about how do you deal with the DMV, and I'm not sure what specifically, but I know we talk, because some have travel cards and.
Hey, I have some. Yeah. So listen, DMV, really interesting. Let me tell you an experience I had personally. And me being a CDL holder is really interesting, because some of these states, notice I said states, not countries. Some of these states, they amalgamate the ID and the driver's license into one. Okay? So some of them even amalgamate the driver's license and the commercial license into one. So when I became aware of what was going on, I went in to update the information on the driver's license. And I also autographed all rights reserved. They rejected it. Told me they couldn't issue me a license. So I did it over again. Now, I went in saying that I was going to change my picture and update some information. I did it again. I autographed the UCC 1-308. They rejected it. They told me I could not reserve my rights on that document. So I told them that I could. And you'll find that when you are doing these things, you're going to have to carry some laws with you. So you can show them that they are depriving you of your rights under color of law. So with that being said, what they did was issue me a paper license instead of a card. They took the card, gave me a piece of paper, and it expired every week.
So you had to pay for it another one every week?
Every week I had to renew it. And it was a piece of paper, black and white. They took the plastic one, yes, and gave me a piece of paper, black and white. Now, when I finally went back, because of the amount of harassment, I went back. I filed a notice of rescission of my autograph, right? And a complaint. And what I mean by when I filed it, all I did was I notified them. I sent it to back then the head of the Department of Motor Vehicles was in Virginia. And then what I did was publish it. I published it, right? So when they sent me the license, I had autographed everything, all rights reserved. What they did was copy and pasted the one all rights reserved that I could not read because it was on the one where you donate your body parts. Okay, I just X no, and I just scribbled, right? Do you know that when I got the license in the mail, that's the autograph it had on it? So they copied it and pasted from one part of the application to the other. So to answer the question is this. What I've learned since then is that what you do is, since you were never born in the territory, okay, you was always a state national when you came out of your mother, always, okay? What you do is go to update your license and get them to change it, and I would not use a zip code. If they don't use a zip code, or if they tell you no, have them give you a letter of denial. Now, what they may do is give you a letter of what did they call that? That the guy got the letter of eligibility. It's a letter of non-eligibility saying that you are not eligible for this license. I know someone who did that and got that letter from them and used that letter and haven't had a problem. Now, all I'm saying is this. They want you to be in the federal zone. They want you to use a zip code. If the information is inaccurate, you have a right to correct it. And they also are breaking the law to compel you to put false information on that document because it's fraud. Both ways is fraud. If the information is not accurate, it's not accurate. Once you become aware that it's not accurate, you have a right to change it. They cannot induce you to commit fraud. So just get it in writing that they won't issue you the license. That's the best thing you can do.
And you travel with the letter.
Travel with everything. That's right. Keep your master copy and keep other copies of information with you. That's what you do. Now, this is the approach this is the method. Now, some people would just go through the court system and whatnot and just avoid this. But what I'm telling you, at the end of the day, I know people, just as what you stated, that have what I call fought a good fight and did it sui juris. And the end result was they got the same document, but they didn't compromise their rights by conducting fraudulent activity to do it. I don't want to be associated with anything that has to do with that straw besides X-Rail. Over the years, I have started many things within the court systems just to not go through with them because you never stop learning. You just hope that you learn in time enough where you can correct it. But you definitely don't want to go in contracting. If you want to know the answer to the all-time question, how do you avoid all this mess? Stop contracting with them. How do you stop contracting with them? Rebut the rebuttable presumptions. They're all presumptions and assumptions of who you are, including all the way down to you being a U.S. citizen. You know why? Because you was born in one of the countries that make up the 50 states of the Union, which we call the United States of America. The only problem is you've never seen a birth certificate that said the United States on it versus welcome to the United States of America. That's the only problem. You've never seen it. I don't have one to show you, but I've seen them. But when I see something that I don't like about how they went about doing it, guess what? I can't go that way. So my way is the longer way, the truer way. But I'm standing completely independent as far as I'm my own man. I'm not going in petitioning nobody for anything, and they're going to write it up as me being pro se. If it's pro se, that means it's a thing. And you submit it to the jurisdiction of the court. And whatever your cornerstone is and whatever you do, that's how the rest of it's going to be. So I know I got them committing fraud from when I was a child. Why am I now going to commit fraud again? Doesn't make sense to me. I don't mind it taking a little bit longer. I don't mind going through the fire. But at the end of the day, I'm going to stand strong no matter what.
Well, it looks like we're about at that point. Time flies when you're getting a lot of good information.
You know, I have no less than 20 documents I want to show people, but I am not. Next time it'll be smoother, Dr. G. That's all I can say. If you have the same platform. I mean, the same technology here is what I'm saying. You know,
I think that this was very good. I think for some, not everyone, but for some, the things that you said it has lit a new spark in them to proceed with their with what they're doing to correct their status. Someone just asked to ask you if you suggest a copyright of the straw name.
No,
you don't.
It's not your property. You didn't create it. Why would you copyright it or attempt to? You can't really copyright it, but people say you can, but I can put two and two together as far as where they're going. Remember, it's not you. It never was you. So don't cherry pick through or with the straw. If it was either you or it was not you. Even if you used it, you didn't know any better. So XREL it. If you want to copyright something, copyright your free name, your national name, but not the straw.
Right.
Not the straw. And if you're going to continue to use it and try to tap into the benefits of it, you need to XREL it. You can look up Supreme Court cases where the Supreme Court, especially in Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, and Michigan, those are the places in my area that I've looked at. They all utilize XREL. You can look it up in the legal dictionary. All that means is that you're going to give information about the straw, but don't confuse me with the straw. Basically, the state of Delaware did not create you. You have a mother. That birth certificate is a title. Anything that has certificate in it, it indicates ownership, title. That's their property. The property is the name. They're not claiming you. They just use you to generate the energy for the name.
I know of a situation in Canaan land in Canada where they weren't Moors, but their children were taken away from them. And there's a sort of one of those freedom fighter activists in that area, and I can't remember what he goes by, but he gave this is where I first found out about children being the property. They taken the children, and apparently they took a loaded gun that I don't know what happened, but they took the gun and they took the children from the home. And so they were going back and forth to court trying to get their children back. And this gentleman, this guy that works with, different ones with stuff like that, said, if there's anyone out there who's on one of the shows like this that needs help and, with, say, has a problem with, say their children being taken or whatever, contact me and I'll help them. Well, this couple contacts him. The husband doesn't want to learn he wants to go in and just fight. I give us back our children. But what he instructed the wife to do, and she took note of, was that she wrote something on about return of her property. She called this her property, and she had exhibit whatever on the back. The property were the children, each of the children, and the gun. And when the wife went in, and her paperwork was stating, and didn't have a whole lot, but her property was illegally taken, unlawfully taken, and then listed what that property was. They released the children and the gun, just not the bullets.
That's right, Dr. G. What I'm trying to tell you is that at the hospitals, it's all property claims, and you abandon your property, and then they claim your property. This is exactly what they're trying to do with your ancestral estate here, the land. They rename you to get you off the land. This is why you was never made a state national, which you should have been the moment you came out of your mother. So who gave them the right to take you and put you in the air?
And that's what. So someone said, so if they come to arrest the straw name, can you use your national and get off?
No, listen. We're gonna keep it 100 here. You all have been utilizing that name unbeknownst to you and the legal trappings that came along with it. You need to begin to declare who you are by way of ex-rel. Every time the straw comes up, every time you autograph a document, you want to reserve your rights, whether it's UCC 1-308, whether it's all rights reserved, whether any way you want to do it. But you want to do that and ex-rel the name, because what you're doing is giving them judicial and legal notice. You are holding court. Court is wherever you are, wherever the sovereign is, not sovereign citizen. The sovereign man or woman. Remember, we the people made up the Constitution. The people did. You are one of the people. You are part of the country you was born in, not the state of. So with that being said, don't run from it. Stop doing business in that name without properly identifying who you are as the proper man or woman who can inform about the name, which is ex-rel. You can look up plenty of Supreme Court cases, go to Google Scholar or justia.com, and you can just put in ex-rel and see how it's being used. You can even see how they have written it in documents. It's perfectly lawful and legal. This is how you handle it. Don't run from it. Don't make problems for yourself. Just utilize ex-rel. Don't get out here and go rogue and create trouble for yourself. If you want to get a passport or pass card, feel free to contact your attorney general or your secretary of state and rebut the presumptions that are on you and let them know, hey, I was born here. Here's a birth certificate. I'm a national of this particular area, more or less.
Okay. Here's a couple other questions I get. Someone asked, how does the placenta work by having the baby? That's the birthday cake that they steal.
Hey, listen. That question came up, but let me tell you what I just recently learned about that. They grabbed that placenta so fast that you got to be on your A game to get it. And I've spoken with somebody after that, and they literally told me that they will defend keeping that placenta. Like, even though it's your property, you have to literally claim it before they have their hands on it. So that the placenta was gone. But in the future, now I know. And the baby isn't even a week old. But it was hell on high water to get them people to change the designation of African American, the race, the zip code, basically the domicile, to correctly reflect the fact that the child is a national of Georgia, the Georgia Republic. So hopefully now Even with all that being said, y'all, here is the reality of it. You may still get the birth certificate and it may still say African American. And you know what you got to do? You have to rebut the presumption. You have to go through the administrative process of getting it corrected. Because what you're doing is messing with their money. But you got to ask yourself now, why would they do that? Why are they intentionally doing that? But once again, she was in a hospital, and the hospital is a federal territory. If it's got a zip code, it's a territory.
Well, here's a question about business from Rick and Corey. What if I currently run businesses and would like to transition to nationalization, what would you do? I'm assuming they're registered with.
Yeah. There's you have to decide how you're going to structure your affairs, because there's nothing wrong with having a business within their jurisdiction, because most businesses are in their jurisdiction. But you don't necessarily want to be the owner of the business on paper and be considered a U.S. citizen. Because remember, along with those terms of person and individual is taxpayer. So when you use their property, all of their property are corporate constructs. I read earlier, I don't know if that whoever's asking the question saw it, but I read earlier the definition of person. And I don't know if I read individual, but what I'm saying to you is this: you want to form some sort of entity that's outside of their jurisdiction and connected to your country, that is majority stakeholder or owner of that particular business that's in their jurisdiction. That's what I would do.
So they'd have to restructure it.
You're going to have to restructure it, yeah. But being in their jurisdiction, as far as business is concerned, y'all know most of these businesses got zip codes. So you just got to weigh the pros and cons with that. But I definitely wouldn't have my name on the business as being like the owner and you're still within their jurisdiction, because you're going to get all the liability and the taxes associated with it. So yeah, you're going to have to restructure your business. And I would suggest an unincorporated business entity of some sort. You know, or either you can assign the interest of your company over to a national, a state national, while you get your information done. And you don't have to wait to do this either, you all. Keep in mind that it all starts with you rebutting the rebuttable presumption that you're a U.S. citizen. You have everything that you need. You have the birth certificate. That's evidence that you was born on the land. If the hospital would have gave you full disclosure the moment that your people walked in there or before and said, hey, if you come here and we deliver this baby, we're going to snatch you outside of the country, which is where you at, and we're going to put you in the jurisdiction of the United States, and we're going to make a slave out of you. And you never would have went to that hospital and had the baby delivered. And that's the bottom line. So you can start all of these things that I'm telling you, which is really only one, but notifying these different entities and agencies yourself, because no matter what process you use, there's 1,000,001 methods, but there's only one principle or very few principles, and they're all going to hinge on an affidavit. You're going to have to step up and attest to something.
You're right about that. Listen, I want to ask the question. I'm going to shoot the question. I see a couple of comments, but just in the chat, by way of, just put a why. If would you, who would be interested in attending? This just came to me. I haven't talked to you about it. In attending like a Zoom or a workshop to be more specific about some things, some workshops to kind of go into detail. If you feel like this information that Brother Yacouba has, it would be beneficial to go forward. I just by way of just put a why in the chat about attending, because this is basically what it is. It's two things we need to do. I see a lot about the unity and a lot about the how-tos, where they need some hands-on, and we need to do some things. The whys are coming up. The whys are coming up. I don't know if you see over there in the chat. Can you see the chat?
All I see is the banner moving at the bottom, Dr. G.
Do you see comments?
Okay, hold on. Hide out. Hi,
Look at
oh, wait a
comment.
minute. Chat. Hi. Okay, hold on. Here we go. Full screen mode.
The Y's are coming in.
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay. I don't see it, but let me tell you
okay.
what my goal is with my civics organization, which I'm going to go ahead and probably do it with Zoom. I've read the Zoom contract, and the metadata that they collect is ridiculous, especially when you record the sessions. So when I do this, you all are going to have to find some way to record it, because I'm not going to use the Zoom recording. And if you read their contract, it would scare you, so to speak, of them collecting your metadata is what they call it. So with that being said, my focus for my civics classes is going to be unity. So basically, not only helping those who are not aware to become aware of civics, because we are so far behind. We should have been learning this when we were 3 years old on up, like so many other cultures have done with theirs. They even have today consuls that they can contact, or consulates that they go to, or study groups. The closest thing that we've ever had that was back in the day, the town hall meetings. You got a little bit of information then. But now, with that being said, what I am going to do is make it unity focused, so that whatever problem people are having, we can all tackle the problems together. So not only will you be learning, you will also be applying what you learn. Because the truth of the matter is, as far as I've been studying for quite some time now. And you know, Dr. G, with the influx of information, you're always learning. And just when you think you know something, then you find out something else. So you get kind of gun shy a little bit, especially when you don't trust people. And I got trust issues. I'll admit it. I got trust issues. Okay. So now, with that being said, I don't mind my trust issues though, because it just causes me to read even more, study even more, ask more questions. I've got federal judges that I ask questions to. I even had a federal judge tell me that most of the people are not hateful of you because of how you look. Most of the people don't like you because of what you represent. And I said, well, what do I represent? What do you mean? He said, instability to their way of life, because you have the ability to disrupt the harmony that so many people have built their very foundations on. Meaning this, he knew what I didn't know, was that this is mine here, and I have a rightful claim to it. And some people just don't want to let go of it. So with that being said, what we don't have as a people is the joint effort of us helping us. Everybody has got methods, and they either want you to contribute to something, and then they just leave you hanging, especially if you don't go along with their particular program. What I look to do is tackle whoever is a part of these of my civics organization. We're not going to leave any stone unturned, because there doesn't have to be any stone unturned. Each one needs to start helping one. That's the only way to get past this isolation that's going on within our community. We got people that's got issues from child support to legal issues, felonies, to mortgage fraud, to school loans, to everything. And everybody is looking for a remedy on how to address these things. And I think it would be great if all these people, all these minds came together, regardless of what their problem is, and solved them all together. You may know something I don't know. Somebody else may have an experience, because none of us can top experience. We can come in with all the knowledge we want, but it's the experience.
Best teacher.
It's the best teacher.
Yeah. So what I just did is put your email address up there again, because I want you all to write down, it's right there on the screen, but I also put it in a chat, the North Gate at Moroccan rather, ENT. So that's MOROCCANENT.com. Please, if you're interested in attending, once Brother Yacouba gets it ready to pull you all together. Those of you who put a Y, a yes in the chat
within a week. Within a
week,
week. Yeah.
please send. You do it now. Send an email so he'll have your contact information, and you will get taxes, whatever. Just please send an email of let him know that you heard what he said, and you're interested in the civics classes or the civics group, because he's not just talking about classes, he's talking about unifying, coming together. And we're not negating the fact that there are other like for instance, one of the, you've seen the brother on here many times, Brother Lamont, Maurice L. We highly respect and love him. So he's doing his thing. I'm hoping to see like people like yourself and him that I know who has a heart for helping the people coming together. You know what I mean? But we got to find a way to do it where, finances isn't the main, thrust. I mean, we know it. Prophet said it takes finances to do this, but it doesn't always take as much as we think it does, as much as it takes to have a heart for helping the people first. I was just today, I told you, with a sister that helped me when I was transitioning from being a pastor, to what became the House of Reawakening Minds. She's like 83, a warrior. And I spent time with her today, and it was a reminder. She was telling me about something, a building that she pretty much just gave up, gave to the group that she was working with. She paid for it with her own finances. But when things got, whichever way they went, she said, I walked away. I'm not involved that way. She said, because it was always for the people. It's always about, because what could we do for the community? So it didn't bother her, that she wasn't hands-on with it, even though her finances, acquired it. She said, because it was always for the people. And that's what has to stay in the forefront, I think, of anything we do. We the people, we talk about we the people, the patriots, so-called patriots always talking about we the people. We need to come together. We the people of the land, and we need to unify our resources and our strength in order to get this. So again, I'm just saying, email Brother Yacouba, Brother Yusuf L. And others. Like I said, we need to bring all of these platforms, together. And I know that's difficult because a lot of people, it's like I'm saying, give me your baby, give me your baby. No, we're just saying put all your babies in the same playpen. How about that?
Yeah.
In the same sandbox.
Yeah.
And play yeah. That's all. Don't take away. You're not trying to take away what you've developed. We're saying we can get in the same sandbox and play together, so to speak, work together. But I'm just using that as a way of just saying we need to unify. And I believe that this has been very, very, very extremely informative. I told y'all it was going to be informative.
And I'm gonna apologize to the public because I'm not used to this technology right here, but I have so many documents to reinforce so many of my claims that you all haven't seen, but I will show you in the future. And also, I would like to just give a shout out to a few people. One, Grand Sheik Taj Tariq Bey. Like to give a shout out to him because of his, I'm going to tell you a little story. I used to listen to Taj Tariq Bey years ago when he was debating, running around the streets of Jersey, New York, and everything, right? I used to listen to Taj Tariq Bey. And even though what he said resonated with me, a lot of times I thought he was speaking out of context or he didn't add any context to what he was saying. But at the same time that I thought that, I wasn't an adept reader either. So when I began to study and I began to uncover things and put the pieces together and connect the dots, I realized that what he was talking about was completely relevant and accurate. But I also realized this: he had to be extremely unselfish to go through what he has gone through and to not do what so many of these other people out here have done. He's got to be one of the most unselfish people that I know. And you know, he and I has had a few conversations. I've never met the man personally, but we've enjoyed a few conversations, and we vibed in those conversations. So shout out to him. Shout out to Lamont Maurice L. He's doing a good job with his civics class. Shout out to the Bad Wolf. If you guys don't know about the Bad Wolf, check him out. He's brilliant. And there is a gentleman that is he's an older Caucasian, Rob Ryder. Shout out to Rob Ryder. He's an ex-military vet. Those are some names for you all to check out. Now, you're going to have to become readers. There's just no way around it. You're going to have to do what you've been doing your entire life, but you're going to have to do it better. You've been managing your own affairs, your own businesses, your entire life. You've been doing it already. This is not new to you. Now you just have to redirect your energy to now correct your status. Whatever method you choose, just make sure that you fully know what that method entails. It doesn't matter if you go the direct route or if you go through the court system. As long as you are aware of what you're doing, as long as you get the result that you want. I'm aware. So my path is clear. You need to be aware. And so I can help you all be aware. We can tackle these problems together. And if one person has any litigation issues, in my opinion, we're all at war against the same artificial entity. And it waged war on you when you was born. It threw the first rock, snatched you right out of your country, and labeled you, and then enslaved you, and built an empire off your energy. And you know what, Dr. G? I ain't even mad at him. You want to know why? You want to know why, Dr. G?
Why?
I can't do nothing about what's happened in the past. All I can do is change the present and alter the future.
Right.
I can't go. We just had a conversation 5 seconds ago. I can't even reach back and get that. All I can do is fix it right now and move forward. Because everybody is not evil. It's just a few evil, powerful people that's causing all this havoc, like little badass kids that want something they can't never obtain. It's not theirs to even get. So as soon as you stop believing in them and believing in yourself, stop externalizing everything and internalize it and activate it.
Right, right.
I am notorious for making things way more complicated than they need to be, or should I say used to be.
But I think you made this pretty simple. You simplified this.
Trust me, I've come a long way. But in learning that, I've learned to not start here. I learned to start from the perspective that it's already done and work my way back. So I envision the victory already, and I work my way back.
And that's a good way to look at it.
And so I can tell you that the variables are consistent. There's some variables that are inconsistent, but there are some that are very consistent. And one of those variables are affidavits. You're not going to get anything done if you don't attest to something under the penalty of perjury, or if you don't put in a counterclaim. You just need to know how to put in a counterclaim. You need to know how to put in a counteroffer. You need to know who to contact with your affidavits. You don't need to know legalese. You really don't. Whenever you get something in a language that you know you don't understand, put that in your affidavit. I don't understand what the hell y'all talking about, but this is what I mean by this word. Put it in your affidavit. They still have a duty to respond to it. They know they write in a language that you don't understand. You think they don't know that? You think they don't know that you weren't here before they came over here and told you Christopher Columbus discovered this place? That wasn't even the man's real name.
If he really existed.
If he really existed at all.
Mhm.
They already know who you are. They had Moors come over here with them, show them how to get here. They already know who you are. There is an act. I want you all to listen to me, and Dr. G, you may want to put this in the chat. It's called the Sesway Trust Act of 1666. I know it's
trust.
Yeah, basically yes, and all that means, y'all, is that it's a beneficiary act, but it was implemented a long time ago in England, and then through that act, the Pope claimed all your personal property, all your real property, all your intellectual property, all your ecclesiastical property, and they're still doing that today. And if you think you're free, for all those people who believe in the United States of America, as far as the democracy, then you need to look at the Treaty of Paris. As a matter of fact, Dr. G, let me read that in closing real quick so I can show you what's really going on. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Hold on for a second. So I need to do this. Okay, hold on. Let me go here. Let me stop that. All right. Let me do this. Exit full screen. And then, all right. Here we go, Dr. G. See, I'm getting a little smoother with it. I want to show you all something real quick. I'm going to show you something. 1666, y'all, is written in canon law, and you need to read that document. It might be about 4 or 5 pages, and it's going to teach you a whole lot. Okay. So we're going to share screen. Bam. Look how smooth I'm moving now.
I didn't have share on that.
I got you. Here we go. Bam. You see this?
Let me take this down, this banner there.
All right. I want to show you all something. First of all, what I want y'all to do is pay attention to the date. 1783. Now, I want you all to follow the most important events in so-called American history, including Civil War, Independence, 4th of July, 1776. Just follow me now. Now listen, let me show y'all something. In the name of the most holy and undivided Trinity, it having pleased the divine providence to dispose, something happened. I don't know what happened.
That's me. I did that. Don't worry about it. I'll get you back.
Okay.
No, wait a minute. I'll get you back. I'll find you. That's me.
Okay.
I don't know what I did, but we'll find you.
All right.
You back.
No problem.
You keep reading.
Okay. I can keep reading. Did you say keep reading? Oh, I might have lost you. Something happened. Can they still hear me? Okay. All right.
My mic was muted, but we hear you.
Oh, no problem. So can I continue reading now?
You sure can.
Okay, listen. All right. And it having pleased the divine providence to dispose the hearts of the most serene and most potent Prince George III, by the grace of God, King of Britain, France, and Ireland, defender of the faith, Duke of Brunswick and Lunenburg, Arch-Treasurer and Prince Elector of the Holy Roman Empire, and of the states of and of the United States of America. Do y'all see that? Now, all I'm asking you to do is follow the timeline all the way up to this. And you'll see that the independence came and then went right out the door with this. He just claimed the United States of America. And I know you all heard about Barack Obama getting a letter from the Pope, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to take you all down now to Article 5. Here, it is agreed that Congress shall earnestly recommend it to the legislatures of the respective states to provide for the restitution of all estates, rights, and properties which have been confiscated belonging to real British subjects, and also the estates, rights, and properties of persons resident in districts in the possession on His Majesty's arms and who have not borne arms against the United States, and that persons of any other description shall have free liberty to go to any part or parts of any of the 13 United States, and therein to remain 12 months unmolested in their endeavors to obtain the restitution of such. Listen, what I'm trying to tell y'all is, this is only a 5-page document. This is the Treaty of Paris. This is showing y'all the reason for the Constitution of the United States, the democracy. This is why you don't see this. And I'm going to show you something else. This is why you don't see this. Let me show you. And the reason I showed you all that is so y'all can follow the timeline. So whenever you go looking up the timeline between the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, the war, and everything, remember 1783. And you can see how we went right back into slavery to the crown. And I got one more document, which is the, did I get rid of it? Nope.
This is Article 3.
I got you. Yeah, I'm still on the same. Yeah, I'm just pulling it up first because I find that to be quicker than thumbing through. So I can show them what it looks like. All right. Now I'm going to come back to you, Dr. G. All righty, here we go. We go here. We stop this. That was a Treaty of Paris. You guys can Google that and find it on the PDF or whatnot. And be easy for you to find. And then Opera tab, application window. Opera tab. And this is screen preview application window. Okay. Now under this application window, let me see. Okay.
It's always the tab, I think, that you want it.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out which way I can get down and see the okay. Well, Well, Dr. G,
back on the show. We're going to have to bring you back on.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah,
I think we are in agreement. There is a that somebody asked me to make this replayable. All of our shows, all of our broadcasts are replayable. As soon as this is over, if you are not already subscribed to the channel, Official House of Reawakening Minds, please do so. You can go back in and take a look at this and share this with those that weren't on here tonight that really need to hear what was said, and to also reach out, like I said, to our brother and get connected for that training, for that civics training, and I think that it will be beneficial to us all. And with that, because your girl's a little tired, I'm running my special, so I always end up with my particular stuff that's going on. So I'm running my 50% off the AO scan until March 31st. And so let me just throw, if you could just hang out with me while I do my little promos. I want folks to know how important, how strongly I feel about the about this AO scan. So this is my solar return month. My solar return is next week. But for the month of March through the 31st, I am providing scans for 50. Actually, it's more than 50% off. I don't know why I said 50% off, because it's actually like more like 75% off, or 60% off. I'm sorry, 60% off of what it normally costs to get a scan. I want our folks, brother Yacouba, to get this, because so many of us are under stress. and various things are happening with, with what we have on, like, we got these cases and these situations, and our adrenal glands and everything is out of whack. People aren't sleeping right. They don't know what's going on. And this is going to be a way for them to find out what's going on inside, not only their psyche, but, their physiology. So please, 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 if you've ever wanted to see what this scan is about, and some of you have already reached out to me, matter of fact, I wanted to do tomorrow. Please consider sending a text, at least so I can send you the information about getting an AO scan. Also, if you want to get a scan yourself, that's of course something that you can do. But I just want you to know that for the month of March, the price of the scan is very, 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 very cheap. And not the scanner, but a scan and all of the reports that you will get as a result to that. So I wanted to say that. And last but not least, Brother Rome, you haven't even tried this yet. You need to really get yourself a little bit of this. I know you're all into your holistic process, Brother Yacouba. So that's that chokeberry. Everybody, I have some folks that have bought chokeberry like 3 times in the last 2 months, and I'm like, are they drinking it like Kool-Aid? Because each box lasts for 2 months. I think I have one sister that's bought at least 6. So I don't know.
I'm definitely interested, and yeah, I just made some dandelion green drink out of dandelion, cucumber, zucchini, ginger, turmeric, and lime,
Well,
and apples.
I'm still looking forward to that duck flower we talked about.
Oh, I actually have it. I need to send it to you.
Yes, I'm excited about the duck flower. So of course, you told me I may have to put myself in quarantine.
Yeah, and if any of you all that's listening, if you haven't taken the duck flower, it's the ultimate detox, and it really gets rid of a lot of mucus. And you're gonna have to isolate yourself for at least 6 to 8 hours. But it's very, very effective, and it's one of the most effective things I've ever taken, ever.
Yeah, so I
Ever.
definitely
and I've taken a lot.
I won't be doing a duck flower detox on a Tuesday or a Friday, so some other time. But
Right.
listen, yes, but listen, yeah, get you some chokeberry though. You gotta get
I
some
will.
chokeberry.
I will.
I have reports, brother Ali from the DMV area. He called me and called me the other day and said, I gotta come up and get some more. He's down near DC. He said my blood pressure has already gone down. And there's another brother that was on here, and his sister Deborah and Dennis Smith. They came up from Greensboro and got 2 boxes last week. Or was it week? They were here for my father's homegoing service. But but I'm saying that's their like 6 box. I think they're 5th or 6th box of it, because they're taking it and they're actually seeing results. So I'm going to go out with that commercial about chokeberry. I'm going to update it one of these one day. I'm going to make a better commercial, but in the interest of my ability to make my homemade commercials, I just want to encourage folks to kind of try it out. Here we go. And again, I want to thank you. This has been amazing. This has been awesome. And like I said, you might as well start checking your mailbox, because I'm sure folks is already emailing you their interest, and definitely keep me abreast of what you're doing. And I just want to say to everyone, I have had the benefit of Brother Yacouba knowledge for months. He just calls me and shares with me and updates me on things. And finally I said, listen, you need to come on the show and share. And I'm so glad that you agreed to do this, because this has been wonderful. This has been absolutely really good, informational, informative. Sort of. I think some folks got a different. They're not so frustrated because they're so tired of hearing people talk about you ought to do this, you ought to do that, but nobody tells them how to do it, or nobody wants to connect them
and
to learn.
And Dr. G, like I said, there was so much information that I didn't get a chance to show them because of my alienation from this platform, as far as not knowing how to move around in it. But I can tell you this, you all, it's going to be a great time, a good movement, because I know what we've been lacking, and that is unity. And we can all get to where we need to go at the same time by just pulling each other up by our bootstraps, and we don't have to alienate each other by feeling like someone is over talking us, or yeah, you're telling me this, but now I got to do it all on my own, and that's okay. But we all need to slow down and help each other, because there is more than one method to accomplish any goal. Like, for example, say you want a Maserati. You can plan to get it in 3 years and go to work for it. You define work how you want to, or you can get out there and sell some dope to go get it. But one of those ways you go get it, you're going to have to deal with the repercussions of somebody come knocking on your door. So you choose whatever method you want to choose. But one of them comes with less strings attached than the other. So all I'm saying is that do whatever you feel is right. Because in the end, you got to answer to you. You got to carry whatever burdens or whatever. I mean, you the reaper and the sower. So do whatever you feel is right for you. I'm not gonna knock you for whatever you want to do. But if you tell me you think you can fly and you're gonna go jump out a 20-story window, I'm gonna tell you to wear a parachute. And that's all I'm saying.
Okay. Thank you.
As goofy as that may have sounded, that's all I'm saying.
It makes sense. It makes sense. You're not trying to turn folks out to do something crazy.
Not at all.
There's, you can do what you want, but this might be the better way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
we've been all turned off from asking questions, Dr. G. I think one of the most effective tools that was done to us is that we've been timid when it comes to asking these fiduciaries or trustees questions. And so what I've found to be my greatest practice is asking these representatives questions. And you'd be amazed at some of the answers you get. Like I said, literally, I have befriended a federal judge. So it's not the fact that your remedy isn't there. You got to go after it. And you don't have the contract to get it.
Yep.
That's all. We're going to have some fun. It's gonna be joyful.
All right, look, we going out here. Let me put this commercial up, and we going out. I know folks are tired, and you are. And I thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. G.
All right.
Okay. Oh, that looked good. Choke.
It looks good. Yeah. Dr. G here, just checking to see if you've ordered your Chokeberry Plus. What? You don't know what Chokeberry Plus is? Oh my. It is an amazing berry that has the highest ORAC level of most berries known to man. Actually, it's a step higher than elderberry, and it's much, much higher than berries such as noni, goji, and mangosteen. What is chokeberry, you ask? Well, chokeberry is an antiviral, it's antioxidant, and it's an immune system boosting berry. It also provides support and balance for the blood pressure, the blood sugar, and cholesterol. Yeah, in one little dose that you would take a day that's very pleasant tasting, like a glass of fine wine, you are going to provide yourself with a lot of protection, especially in these times that we're living in. Like I said, it's antiviral, antioxidant, and anti-inflammatory, among the balanced support that it provides for the blood sugar, the blood pressure, and the cholesterol. You want to know how you can get yours? Sure. Just text CB3L to 302-345-0500, and we'll shoot you out an order link. You want to get yours today, especially these times we're living in. We need some added support and protection. So I highly recommend Chokeberry Plus. And let me say this: Chokeberry Plus, and the chokeberry is also what's known as the aronia berry, but all of the chokeberry products out there are not created equal. We've got probably the best tasting, and you'll feel it the moment it hits your taste buds, and it actually does some things as soon as it hits your mouth. I'm not going to talk about that, but it's going to be good for you, good for your family. You can get a 60 serving 3-liter box shipped out within 2 to 3 days, and it's going to come by priority mail insured. So again, text CB3L to 302-345-0500 and get your chokeberry today. Peace.
Dr. G. Really? Oh shit.
Yeah, that's me.
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 Dr. G. Really? Oh shit.